Welcome to today's Reader's Theater. I'm Nell, and this is
Kirsten.
We're so happy you're here to join us today. We have an array of books to share with you to the theme of freedom to be yourself. What's the big deal about freedom? Well, it's nice to say what you want, believe what you want, be yourself, right? Well, that wouldn't be possible without many individuals standing up for what they believe in, beginning hundreds of years ago with the establishment of the United States. This book gets into the history and information behind some of the rights and freedoms we celebrate today. Each page or two starts off with a question. For example, how does the Bill of Rights give us the freedom to stand up for what we believe? The very first amendment of the Bill of Rights includes some of our most important freedoms. It says we have the freedom of speech, the freedom to say whatever we want, and our leaders can't stop us, even if they don't like what we're saying. Freedom of religion is another First Amendment right. It means you can go to any church, synagogue, mosque, or temple you want, or none at all. The First Amendment also says we're free to assemble. That means when things aren't going right, and when you feel like your leaders aren't really listening, you can get together with friends and neighbors to make a change. How? By organizing marches or rallies or letter writing campaigns to change people's minds, or by convincing folks to vote for a new leader. And that's what our democracy is all about, the power of people to set the rules and govern ourselves. There's also several boxes on each page that feature really fun facts. That is What's the Big Deal About Freedom, written by Ruby Shamir and illustrated by Matt Faulkner, shared with the permission of Penguin Random House.
Wow. Well, imagine being forbidden to learn to read or write. This book, The Oldest Student, How Mary Walker Learned to Read, tells us the story of Mary Walker, who was, as a slave, forbidden to learn how to read or write. It was also illegal to teach any slave to read or write, or even add or subtract. Mary lived and worked on a plantation in Alabama. The two big rules were keep working, always keep working, and no slave shall learn to read or write. It was illegal. When Mary was 15, she and her mother and sister and brothers were all made free. The Emancipation Proclamation said so. But her father had died, and the family had nothing but the tattered clothing that they had on their backs. How were they to survive? Mary thought about learning to read then, but there always was work to be done. And time passed, and Mary kept on working, but didn't learn to read. Her sons would read to her, and they would read to her husband. But one by one, her husband and her sons died. And at age 114, Mary was left alone with no one to read to her. So she decided to learn how to read. She worked hard for well over a year, studying the alphabet, memorizing syllables, memorizing sight words, practicing writing her name over and over again. And finally, at age 116, she succeeded in learning to read and write and add and subtract. Imagine not having the freedom to do all that when you were your age. Now, Mary Walker believed that it's never too late to pursue your dreams, and she made her dreams come true, through hard work and patience. And this is Mary after she's learned to read. You're never too old to learn. Now, something that goes along with Mary Walker's story, because she also never had a chance to vote. Now, Equality's Call, the story of voting rights in America, was written by Deborah Deason and illustrated by Magdalena Mora. Now, when we talk about voting rights, we all are allowed to vote as long as we're 18 or older, right? Well, when the country first started, when the United States first began, our founders declared when our country began that consent of the governed was part of the plan. Through voting, elections, and pre-representation, the voice of the people would strengthen our nation. In fact, though, for years, the great founding ideal was extended to some, and for others, not real. But we heard in the distance Equality's call. A right isn't right till it's granted to all. So we passed legislation to make voting fair, to extend and protect voters' rights everywhere. We heard it, we felt it, Equality's call. A right isn't right till it's granted to all. The journey's not over, the work hasn't ended. Democracy's dream must be constantly tended. But where we are now is a debt that we owe to the work of more people than ever will know. And each time we vote, we acknowledge that past. We honor our rights to ensure they will last. For to vote is to answer Equality's call, and each time we vote with them all. And that was Equality's Call, the story of voting rights in America, written by Deborah Deason, illustrated by Magdalena Mora, and read with permission of Simon & Schuster.
Thank you, Kirsten. You may be too young to vote. However, you are not too young to encourage your family, your friends, and your community to vote. This book follows a class as they learn about the election process and go forth to encourage their community to vote. And one of the activities they participate in is a bake sale. Be sweet and vote. Voting is a piece of cake. Don't forget to vote. Mia and Noah and Jamal had a bake sale. Don't forget to vote, Mia said as she handed out the change. I'll be away on election day, said one woman. In our state, you can vote early, said Mia. Or you can vote by mail, said Jamal. The voter guide tells you how. Voting? What's the big deal? Asked a teenager. People fought wars so we can vote, said Mia. That's a big deal. Why should I vote? Said a sad lady. Nothing ever changes. Besides, one vote won't make a difference. Are you kidding? Said Jamal. Changes are made every day because people voted. Every vote counts. It's true. Vote for Our Future, written by Margaret McNamara and illustrated by Micah Player. This book is shared with the permission of Penguin Random House.
We've been talking about the freedom to be yourself. What if being yourself means using medicine, equipment, or tools to help keep your body healthy? It might make you feel different or alone, but the author of this next book hopes that you will understand that we are all different and find that notion comforting and empowering. We shouldn't fear or ignore differences, but notice them and explore them together. Just ask, be different, be brave, be you. written by Sonia Sotomayor, illustrated by Rafael Lopez. Hi, my name is Sonia. My friends and I are planting a garden. Now, gardens are magical places. Thousands of plants bloom together, but every flower, every berry, and every leaf is different. Each has a different smell, a different color, different shape, and different purpose. Some flowers need lots of sunlight. Others thrive in the shade. Kids are all different too. Some of us are in a hurry. Some take more time. Some of us seem shy and quiet, while others are chatty and loud. Some of our differences are easy to spot. Others take longer to notice. Each one of us grows in our own way. If you are curious about other kids, just ask. You have the freedom to ask other kids if you're curious about them. I do ask. My name is Raphael, and I have asthma, which means I sometimes have trouble breathing. When that happens, I take a break and use an inhaler with medicine to make breathing easier. Quiet time helps me slow down and catch my breath. My inhaler is like a tool to help my body. Do you use a tool to help your body? If you're curious about mine, just ask. And I don't know, I'm wondering if this is Rafael Lopez, the illustrator. A beautiful picture he ends the book with. As Sonia Sotomayor says, if you ever wonder why somebody is doing something different from other kids, just ask. And that was Just Ask, Be Different, Be Brave, Be You. Written by Sonia Sotomayor, illustrated by Rafael Lopez, and read with the permission of Penguin Random House.
Be passionate. Follow your passionate. Follow your passions and change the world. Rad girls can. Now we know boys can too, but this book happens to feature over 50 young girls, all under the age of 20, who in pursuing their passions are changing the world. One of my favorite bios features Misty Copeland, who's a famous ballerina. Did you know that she started dancing when she was 13 years old? Well, that can be a little scary because a lot of experienced dancers start when they're really young. So in addition to starting ballet, she had lots of challenges at home. So she wasn't sure that it was going to be a good fit for her. However, she pursued it. Now, something worried Misty. She didn't look like any of the famous ballerinas in the videos she watched. Those dancers were tall, thin, and always white. Misty was curvy, muscular, and African American. But thanks to Misty's teacher and Misty's own deep determination and love for dance, she kept going. She worked incredibly hard, dancing and training every day because she loved it. She began to realize that the strong, graceful girl she saw in the studio mirror was her, and she was really, really good. She was. She went on 4 years later, at the age of 17, to join the most prestigious ballet company in the United States, the American Ballet Theater. And today she's their principal ballerina, their first Black principal ballerina. So look, you can pursue your passions, what you love, and change the world, just like Misty. And find out the stories of many others in this book. And at the end, there's an area where you can begin to write your story. And what are you passionate about?
Well, all of the books we've shared today are available through Kitsap Regional Library. You can place a hold on a print copy, or you can borrow an ebook at krl.org. I'll share my screen now and show you how you can get to the ebook list. We also have some wonderful lists of books that are similar to the ones we had today. You go to download, and when you click there, you end up with Overdrive. Click on Overdrive and click on Collections. Now this is Readers Theater Thursday, so I'm going to click on Readers Theater Thursday. And one of our friends, Miss Lisa, helped put together a special list of books all about the freedom to be yourself. I don't know if you can see my little arrow here, I'm going to click on See All in the right-hand side, and we'll go ahead and go through that list. Look at all of those lists. Malala, Rat Girls Can, Spork, Dinosaur Happy Dreamer, Ballerina Dreams. Oh, and there's Firebird. Misty Copeland adapted the story. Golly, if you wanted to check this book out, you would just click on Place a Hold right here, and the system would ask for your library card number, and you would be able to read that book right away. Sometimes books oh, excuse me, so that must be checked out. Here we go, Borrow. If you press on Borrow, it lets you read that right away. I'm so sorry. But if you click on Place a Hold, it may take a little while to get that book, but it won't be long. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. And we'll say so goodbye from me and Miss Kirsten and.
Yes, goodbye from Nell. Have a good afternoon. There we go. Sorry, Kirsten. I'm going to hit stop recording.